to actually move something in the lame duck rather than waiting until the next session when they control things. The same logic goes for if Democrats retain control of both chambers. They no longer have that motivation to get something done under the wire, even though it would surely be very popular for their constituents, particularly in states that have already enacted modern, sensible cannabis policies. If the chambers remain split control, then I think we have a better environment in which to get things done in the lame duck, because it's anybody's guess what will be able to be accomplished in the upcoming session.
Speaking of, will he be able to delist anything? He mentioned that Biden mentioned that before. Was that just to create some hyperbole, or to create some buzz, or is he serious about that? He's actually has some action behind those words. And what's the most likely outcome, you think? Is he going to follow like the liquor, and how that was kind of just left up to the states? Have you heard any updates on that?
All right, so the Biden announcement that called on relevant federal agencies to review the placement of cannabis as a Schedule I substance, it was definitely very useful, because I think it highlighted the fact that Schedule I is an entirely inappropriate placement for cannabis. And it brought a lot of attention to it. There are a lot of people talking about it now. We've heard from these federal agencies that, including the FDA, that this is now a high priority to pursue this review process. However, in order to actually get this review accomplished, is going to take a lot of work on the part of many different federal agencies. It's also going to require, if we want a positive outcome, heads of these federal agencies to basically backtrack and admit that they were wrong for decades. Very unlikely to happen. The process itself also takes years, even if it's being fast-tracked. Now, if we are looking at the history of the schedule review petitions, NORML has been filing these petitions since 1970, and every single time it has taken years to even get the petition accepted. It's taken more years to even get the petition or to get the review process done. And then, as in the case in 1988, when the DEA's own administrative law judge ruled that there was absolutely no reason for cannabis to be on Schedule I, and that in fact it was, quote, one of the safest therapeutic substances known to man, the DEA said, that's not binding, we're not going to follow that. And that has happened several times since then. So the idea that we can trust federal agencies to conduct this review process and arrive at the right answer, that cannabis should be descheduled, because we all know that rescheduling would be an absolute disaster. It would not change the anything about the federal-state conflict. It wouldn't decriminalize cannabis in any way, shape, or form. It would cause total chaos in state programs. But we can't afford to wait for this drawn-out bureaucratic process, the result of which we are completely unsure of. But the fact that Biden has called for this review is incredibly useful, because it is adding motivation for Congress to step in and do it more effectively. Cannabis was placed in Schedule I by Congress, and I think that it will ultimately be removed from the schedule entirely because through Congress.
Hey, so I just got a, whatever this is, I guess it would be a news article. I never know if it's a newspaper article or newsletter or it's a distribution press release, but it's still saying that the DEA will have the final word about what happens with the cannabis scheduling. And it's weird, because the FDA is the one that seems to be leading the charge to make changes, but both of these little organizations, bureaucratic organizations in our country, are all saying, well, we need to do more research. They can't do research because they've already screwed that up already. So where do you think this, if you were the president or you were the czar of the world, Morgan, and you could say this is either a drug or a plant, therefore under the DEA or the agricultural world, where would it be most effective?
I think that's a very interesting question. we know that the FDA is not going to be able to affect